Wage theft is the illegal practice of not paying workers for all of the time they've worked. And according to the San Diego State CPI survey released today, 77% of more than 330 restaurant employees surveyed report employers stole their wages in the past year. A third said it happens on a regular basis. Here with the details are my guest, Peter Brownell, Research Director at the Center on Policy Initiatives, and Katie Durocher, who worked in local restaurants for nearly 30 years. And Peter, what are some specific examples of wage theft? What are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about things like working off the clock when employees work before their shift starts, preparing for the day, or when they're continue after they've clocked out to clean up or prepare for the next day. So that's one of the ways. Overtime violations is another, when people work more than 8 hours in a day or 40 hours in a week and they're not paid time and a half as required under state law. Reporting time is another type of violation that we document here, which is a state law that requires people to be paid for at least 2 hours or half their scheduled hours if they show up for work and there's no work available for them.
And how did you conduct this survey? How did you get these numbers?
So it was done in partnership with Dr. Jill Esbenshade in the sociology department here at San Diego State. She had a classroom of graduate students that conducted the surveys. We went out both, to trolleys, to grocery stores, to places like that in the community, and also did presentations on campus to try and reach out to students and people that they might know.
Sure, and in interviews, right? 337 workers, right. 163 restaurants spread out, and 30-minute interviews, correct?
Yeah, so there were 337 surveys conducted, either online or face-to-face, and then 30 in-depth interviews that delved into these issues much more deeply.
Sure, and let me delve in a little bit. The survey examined different types of wage theft experienced by San Diego County restaurant workers in the past year, and found that 60% of the workers were forced to work off the clock without pay, 35% were unpaid for reported time worked, and 30% were not paid for overtime for the workday or work week. Now, Katie, what type of wage theft have you experienced?
Well, I was actually asked by one of the San Diego State individuals that was surveying me to share my story, because I actually worked for a restaurant that just opened up and they were unable to meet payroll expenses. And so I essentially ended up working for tips only and never was able to receive the wages owed to me, even though I received a judgment through the labor board.
What kind of impact, either for you or your friends in this industry, does this sort of wage theft have?
It's really difficult to completely gauge that, but I can share with you that there are, of course, people that may work for 2 weeks or more expecting wages to be paid, and then they don't have money to pay their rent, they don't have money to pay their electric bill, they don't have money to buy food. I am a single mother with 2 children, so of course it has an impact not just on the individual, but on families as well.
And were you able to confront your employer, or it sounds like you did report the problem?
Oh, yes. Well, we actually ended up picketing the restaurant after 6 months, and it subsequently closed, but he is now residing in another state under an assumed name. So even though we received these awards, and there were at least 14 against this individual claims with the labor board, one judgment was over $38,000 alone. Probably will never be realized, unfortunately, because he's not accessible.
All right, and we'll get back to that in a moment. But in a statement to take KPBS, the California Restaurant Association responded to the survey today, saying in part that it has zero tolerance for wage theft, discrimination, or any illegal practices. The CRA provides many resources to ensure our members do not engage in these activities. Unfortunately, this study combines potential legal violations with the author's blatant political agenda. Any violations of current law are concerning. That's the end of that quote. Now, Peter, there are state and federal laws to prevent wage theft. Are they just not being enforced?
I mean, that's really the bottom line is, what we're talking about here, what we're documenting are laws that are on the books. There's really just, an overwhelming lack of resources for enforcement. The Labor Commissioner has fewer than 100 investigators to protect over 18 million workers in the state. So really the biggest thing that we need is more resources to make investigation resources available. Right now we rely entirely on workers coming forward with complaints, and obviously when they're coming forward with complaints, they're putting their jobs at risk of retaliation, and that makes it very difficult for people to come forward. So what we really need is enough resources that the Labor Commissioner's office can go out and do proactive enforcement without waiting for employees to call them.
I see. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so you can, the folks here at home can read the entire wage theft survey on our website, kpbs.org. Peter and Katie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.